My name is Carton Rogers, and I'm the Vice Provost and Director of Libraries here at the University of Pennsylvania. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to Penn, to Philadelphia, and to this conference on MOOCs entitled MOOCs in Libraries, Massive Opportunity or Overwhelming Challenge. I'd also like to say hello and greet the people who are joining us virtually. I hope that you all find this conference as interesting as I think it's going to be. I was really pleased when I got a call from OCLC, Jim Mihelko specifically, asking whether or not Penn would be interested in co-sponsoring this event with OCLC. And I actually, which isn't normally my style, I jumped at the opportunity. And let me tell you why. One, our roots, Penn's roots, with OCLC are very deep indeed. And MOOCs, in the current guise of Coursera, have certainly taken root on this campus. You'll be hearing more about Coursera and the Penn experience in just a couple of minutes. But while I have the calm, I want to say a couple of words of why this conference resonates with me, and also to say a public thank you to some folks who worked very hard to make it all happen. So why was I really interested, other than these deep roots? Well, one, as far as I know, this is the first conference of its kind in terms of bringing the issue of MOOCs and their possible impacts on libraries together at one conference. To be sure, there have been the MOOC 101 events where people gather just to learn more about what MOOCs actually are. But to pull together people who are thinking about what MOOCs mean for libraries and the impact that they might have on libraries, I think this is probably the first of its kind. Reason number two, co-sponsoring any event with OCLC is a pleasure because it's an opportunity to lure my good friend and occasional collaborator, Jim Mihelko, back to Penn. And that's right, back to Penn. What many of you may not know is that very early in his career as a librarian, Jim plied his trade here at the Penn Libraries as our chief financial officer. Penn has a decentralized budget model, the infamous responsibility-centered budget or management model. So the CFO of any school or center here plays a really critical role, not only in the day-to-day financial activities of the center or the school, but also is an important part of setting the strategic direction for that particular unit. So working alongside the famous Dick DeGennaro, Joan Gottwals, and Bernard Ford, Jim was a key player in the Penn Libraries universe. We would like to think that Penn made him what he is today, for better and probably for worse, and we actually take great pride in both sides. I mention this partly to recognize Jim, but also to say that it was Jim leaving Penn to become controller at RLG. Can we talk about RLG in this group? That gave me an opportunity to build my own library career, a career that at that particular time seemed stuck in neutral. I replaced Jim as library CFO, and the rest, as they say, is history. Clearly, there wasn't room enough at Penn for both of us, so thank you, Jim, for your timely departure. But back to MOOCs and why we are interested in co-sponsoring this event. The Penn Libraries manage courseware, currently Blackboard, for a large portion of this campus. We also have a repository, which we call Scholarly Commons, and it's the only repository on campus, and we have a scholarly communication librarian who has a lot of experience clearing the rights for our digital assets. All of this experience came into play as the university moved toward a partnership with Coursera. We were at the table early and often during the discussion phase, and we were asked to provide a significant amount of support, particularly in the rights clearance arena as Penn launched its first 16 courses. This has been a very valuable experience for us in the libraries, and as MOOC mania spread across the research university landscape, we found ourselves being asked more and more questions from our library colleagues about our experiences with and our support of Coursera at Penn. So I guess the cosmic question is whether our experience is unique or whether there are universal truths coming out of our experience that might provide useful guides for other libraries as they try to create new services in support of open courseware on their campuses. I trust we'll all learn a lot together over the course of this conference. So with that, let me thank some folks and get out of the way so that we can get our first speaker up here. Obviously, I would like to thank our good collaborators from OCLC, Jim Mihalko and Marilee Prophet, who's on the stage with Jim particularly, but I know a lot of other staff from OCLC are here today, so if you could raise your hands and get a round of applause for all your work in support of it. There must be a few of you out there. Yeah, there's one. I'd also like to recognize and thank my colleagues at Penn, particularly Martha Brogan, our Director of Collection Development, Global Studies, and Scholarly Communications. You know, one of the great things about being a library director is that you can agree to anything, and then you get to turn to very talented staff who actually make the things you've just agreed to happen. And Martha is one of the best at doing that. Martha, in turn, smartly enlisted a strong team of her own colleagues at Penn to work with her. Marjorie Hassan, our Director of Teaching, Research, and Learning Services, Anu Vindantham, who's the head of our Weigel Information Commons, Carrie Peterson, head of Research and Instructional Services, and Sean Martin, our Scholarly Communications librarian. I'd also like to give a shout. I don't know that she's actually here right now. She's probably back in Van Pelt getting ready for the reception later today. But I'd like to thank Alita Arthurs, who's the library's events coordinator. She's done an awful lot on the ground to make this conference happen, to get the reception planned, et cetera, et cetera. On top of that, we have a very big lecture happening tonight in Van Pelt, so this is a busy time for her. But I have a wonderful staff, and I am very appreciative of all of their work in support of this conference. I do want to apologize for one thing, however, and I'm just very sorry that this conference isn't taking place 6 weeks from now, so that we could be meeting in our new Special Collection Center. And I wish I could extend an invitation to all of you to go up and see it before you leave campus. But unfortunately, we're basically in shutdown mode until April 19th when we do a big public launch. But I hope you'll come back, and I hope we can do this conference again, if not next year, in the very near future. So thank you very much.